Okay, I do apologise, but there's apparently going to be a vote now between now and 7 o'clock. It could be any time. I see some great friends in the audience as well. I'm very, very pleased to be here. I think what Alex is doing is quite remarkable, and it's been a great source of help and information to me. And I was very proud as a new Member of Parliament to be on the Standing Committee, the Public Bill Committee, of the repeal of identity cards. Yeah. And it's great, particularly because the problem with civil liberties for so many years, it's been one particular section of society that has been focusing on them, and I think it's very much something that Conservatives should take up, and I think Big Brother Watch is doing a fantastic job. I just want to talk to you very briefly about a couple of motions I tabled in the House of Commons and some questions I asked about Google. Now, I happen to love Google. I use it on my BlackBerry. I use Google Mail. I synchronise my BlackBerry with Google. I don't even use House of Commons email system because I prefer to be free and to use the Google email system, which I'm not less subject to freedom of information, and also I can do political campaigning on the Google Mail. So I'm not here as some anti-internet Luddite, and I think Google has incredible things to offer us. But nevertheless, I raised these motions on surveillance in the internet because of concerns that Google mapped every single wireless internet connection in Britain. I think that there must be a great difference between the advancement of the internet and the violation of people's right to privacy. And the fact that Google was collecting people's personal data broadcast over their Wi-Fi networks, when you comprehend that is a huge infringement on personal liberty. I find it amazing that Google did this without permission, and that the company seemed to get away with it without anyone causing a fuss about it. I mean, can you imagine if this had happened if another company had gone into people's homes and taken something out of people's homes, and yet Google mapped the personal Wi-Fi of millions of homes around Britain, and nothing happened. Now, Google say this was a mistake, but I don't see how you can make a mistake that consists of going to millions of homes around the country and mapping their Wi-Fi. My view is that even if it was an error, the new Information Commissioner should look into this and possibly have an inquiry. However, because however innovative these internet companies are, it doesn't mean that they have the right to infringe on people's personal privacy. I think the problem with Google and other big internet companies is that despite having produced great technological advances, they have forgotten that people are individuals too. And we're getting into a situation, and I would say this as a Conservative, but just as we're starting to get rid of the previous government's surveillance society, we're now replacing it with another one, dare I say it, a privatised kind of surveillance society of big companies. And it's not just Google. There are reports that British Telecom has been allegedly trawling people's Facebook accounts to check for critical comments about British Telecom. When you think of that, it's something worthy of the secret police. If this happened in Soviet Russia, you could quite understand it. But someone makes a critical comment, allegedly of British Telecom, and they have the software to monitor that you are making that in your private Facebook account. And there has to be a limit to what these companies do. And I think Parliament, Big Brother Watch, and other organisations need to look at the role of internet and telecommunications companies so that people's privacy can be protected. Now, I suspect that there is a lot of privacy encroachment going on which is yet to be uncovered, and that these are just a couple of stories that we've just seen in the media. The reason why I believe that there should be an inquiry into the role of internet and its relationship to individual liberty, because there is so much going on under the surface, tracking what we do on the internet, tracking what we say on the internet, all for commercial purposes. Now, I'm not against private companies either. I'm a Conservative after all, and as I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, I use Google to run my business and commons affairs, but this time I think it has gone too far. There was another report that Google had published a picture of a very young, naked child using their Street View camera. Now, the company apologised for this, removed the image, but it does indicate the extent to which privacy has been compromised. Indeed, there's danger that no one will have any privacy whatsoever. And this time, the threat is not from the state. It's actually private companies who seem to have acquired the right to photograph what goes on in people's gardens. And that is a very dangerous shift, because if no one has any privacy, we will be living, dare I say it, with a privatised version of Big Brother run by some of these internet companies. And that's the scenario slowly creeping up upon us. Now, I accept that it's very difficult for the UK nation state to deal with what is effectively a transnational company. And I also speak as someone who thinks we have more than enough regulation as it is. But when it comes to people's privacy, there must be an investigation into these privacy breaches so as to ensure that nothing like this happens again. And perhaps if an inquiry finds cases where companies have infringed on people's privacy without their permission, perhaps there could be some kind of fine, or, because although Google is global, if you just take that company, there's nothing to stop government from fining Google in the UK. And in fact, it's only Google and the huge companies that have the infrastructure and the financial muscle to go around and photograph everyone in the company and map people's internet connections. So in terms of what happens now, alongside an inquiry from the Information Commissioner, parliamentarians need to raise this issue, not just on the floor of the House, but as a Commons motion. I've asked for a debate on the right of individual privacy, the right to individual privacy and the role of the internet. And an increasing number of parliamentarians are aware of the issue, and 24 have now signed my EVM. Former Shadow Home Secretary David Davies, a prominent defender of civil liberties, is my co-signatory. So there is an awareness of the issue in Parliament, but my view is that it needs to be taken much more seriously. And finally, I just reiterate, of course we must support the growth of the internet. It's a fantastic thing, a force of liberation in many ways. And we have to use all the wonderful advantages that the internet brings. But we must ensure that all these advances do not create a privatised Big Brother state that harms people's personal liberties. And despite what I sort of half-jokingly said about my emails and freedom of information, I am delighted to see Heather, who actually I think, having watched the film as well, I think is a great campaigner for freedom in our country. And I feel, I've never met you before or anything, but I feel it's great to be in a room in which you're hearing something I'm hearing. So.